Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness of sustainable health in a business hustle space. The Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Friday, which means it's time for friends sharing facts about health, business, and overall success. In today's episode, we talk to Marta Spirk. Marta is a wife, mum, and 5-year-old and is a mum to 5-year-old triplets, a podcaster, empowerment coach, and a marketing specialist. She helps women entrepreneurs to move past perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and comparison and into visibility, credibility, and profit. She does that with her 5-step process called Engage to Serve method. Her podcast, The Empowerment Woman school membership and workshops. It is both her passion and mission to give women the permission to succeed, letting their voices to be heard, to create the impact that they're meant to have as they step into their entrepreneurial potential. Interesting facts about her are she has triplets. She can speak 3 languages fluently. She also sings and plays the piano. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, Marta.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk.
You are most welcome. So you have triplets, 5-year-old triplets.
I do. It's been a trip and adventure.
How beautiful. That's absolutely amazing. And you can talk 3 languages fluently. What are these languages? I'm intrigued.
Yes, so my native language is Portuguese. I'm originally from Brazil. And then the second language is English, which is the one I am by far the most fluent at besides Portuguese. And I also speak French.
Wow. That's you can just travel everywhere and people would understand you.
Right. Yes. And I can understand a little bit of Spanish and Italian because they're so close to Portuguese. So I can kind of finagle and make my way around, but not officially fluent on those.
Yeah, it's amazing and so beautiful. And the body language, that's totally another language too, isn't it? You can put in their 4th language.
Yes, definitely. And then love languages, all the things.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I love it. But before we get there, I wanted to find out a little bit more about you. So what have been the key turning points in your life to where you are today?
Yeah, so I think growing up, wanting to be involved with the American culture, that was one of the things that I've always carried with me. And that's why I actually started teaching English when I was 14. And I always look back to that in my entrepreneurial journey, because even though I wasn't really aware of what I was doing, it really was an entrepreneurial endeavor, because I started teaching people in their homes and getting people to come to my house, essentially tutoring and getting paid for it at such a young age. And later on, getting married to my American husband and moving to the US away from my family, that was a huge turning point as well, especially for coming from a Latin family. We're very tight knit. It's not something that you just up and do, especially because everyone's used to you leaving your parents' home when you get married. But usually you're living in the same neighborhood. Everybody knows each other and that kind of stuff. Brazilians are not as nomadic as Americans are. They just up and move when they're 16, college, all that stuff. It's not very common culturally. So that was another turning point in emancipation. And now with the work that I do as an entrepreneur and as a coach, I've been understanding a lot more of my past and why I've always been so driven, and I've always wanted to be associated with the best, and why I was so interested in the American culture, because it has everything to do with my personality and the things that I strive for, which is being associated with the best, being number one, winning, all the things. So everything has come together. And then to top it all off, with me being such an overachiever, I get blessed with triplets. So it's like, Marta, you want it all, here you go. So those have definitely been the most turning points, pivotal points in my life. And with becoming a mom, then deciding to start my business, which I now see was my way of finding my individuality in such in an unexpected situation, such an exacerbated situation, I guess I should say, because becoming a mom is the biggest transformation I think a woman can experience among so many others. But I think one of the pivotal ones, and for me, with that happening triple times all at once, definitely put me on this path of self-awareness and understanding why I do the things I do, because I felt this concern, this burden, and this responsibility of what am I passing on? What am I leaving behind?
Yeah. So for the audience to understand, what is it that you do now?
So now I work as an empowerment coach and a marketing strategist. I focus specifically on women entrepreneurs, helping them with personal growth, essentially things that are keeping them from being more visible and from attracting the clients that they, their dream clients, the people that really want to work with them. And I've focused a lot on the personal growth, and I've noticed that oftentimes it takes you putting things into action and implementing things to then see that you are stuck so that you can move forward more. So I've added this branch of marketing, which is usually what people are mostly attracted to because it's more tangible. What are the tools that you need to use, to reach your audience? And so I have found in the marketing piece an amazing gateway into getting to women's hearts, I guess, because usually most of us put up this armor, put up the front, and we think everything is fine inside. But really, when things are not moving forward is because we need to look inside. And most of us are not used to that. So the marketing piece really helps me get to these women in a different approach so that they're more open and willing to look at themselves, accept themselves, because really this is how you become more visible.
Yeah, I love that. That's bang on, spot on. We tend to hide or have a bit of an armor in front of us just in case someone tries to get in there.
Yep, we all do it. We're all guilty of it.
I love it. When I introduced you, mentioned in there about success, that you allow women to achieve the success. But before we get into that, I wanted to know, what does actual success mean for you right now?
So that's a great question, because I think that evolves and changes with time, and it means different things for different people. And usually the biggest pitfall is that we try to look for somebody else's definition of success, and we, go for it, we pursue it, and then we get jaded. And that's because we didn't take the time to actually figure out what success means for us. Because it takes time, because it takes vulnerability, and we're not used to that, back to that armor too. So for me, the deeper I get into my journey and the more layers of myself that I unpeel, and the more I get to face myself without the armor again, I see that for me, success really is being able to show up fully as who I am without trying to be somebody else. Because again, fear of rejection, always wanting, the approval, making sure everybody loves me. And I think with age, but also with experience in this field, you start learning that the more you repel people, more in the right direction you are. And that's tough because we grow up wanting to be loved. And the faintest impression that somebody is disapproving or not enjoying what we're doing means let's stop and get back in the box, right? And so for me, success really is being myself more and more unapologetically, because ultimately that's what I'm passing on to my kids. And this is really the mission, and the goal is to allow them to be who they were meant to be. And in order for me to foster that, I have to do it first.
Yeah, wow. Good on you for taking that step and that leap. I mean,
it's not easy.
Yeah, easy spoken about, easy said that you're doing, but I could just imagine the actions behind it. Take time, take patience, take emotions, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a job in itself for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get into today's topic that I'm so excited about. I've been, so excited about this podcast episode and the topic with you. Using your love language on yourself, moving from external validation to self-nurturing. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Mm-hmm. To start off, the audience might be like, okay, I'm a bit confused. What is a love language? I know what love is and I know what language is, but what is the two together?
Yes. So this is actually a concept that was developed by a counselor who wrote a book several years ago. His name is Gary Chapman. And it's a pretty well-known concept. Most people have heard of it or have read the book. And his first book has to do with understanding each other as a couple. So the whole concept was developed because he is a counselor for couples. And so helping with marriage counseling and all of that. And he realized that there are specific ways that people like to show love and to be shown love. And when you figure out what that is, your relationship can flow a little bit smoother, and you can stop butting heads as much when you understand what the other person's expecting from you. Because really, this is the core of most conflicts in any relationship, not just romantic, are those unspoken expectations. How can you do something for somebody if you don't know that they want that, right? And I think some personality types, oftentimes women have the tendency of thinking things, feeling things, not expressing that, and then getting annoyed, upset. It's the infamous, is there anything wrong, honey? No. And there is, right? And we just expect men or a partner to magically get in our heads and understand what it is. And the concept of the love languages is really understanding that people like to be shown love a specific way. And so he listed these 5 languages, and I think they're pretty comprehensive, and it's something that's been around for years. He's went on to write a book for kids too. And I dare to say that for those of us who have kids, that is an even more important book to read than the couples one, because you feel the love and the responsibility to nurture your child and to really do what they're expecting from you, I think, on a more deeper level, even than a partner, because of that burden and that responsibility that I talked about in the beginning. So I've fallen in love with all the concept, and I highly recommend both books, but I would say that the kids one, it hits right home for sure, because then you're like, wow, I'm not acting this way, or I'm not picking up on these clues. And it's really helpful to create that awareness. So can I go ahead and describe what the 5 languages are?
Of course, go for it. I love it. I love that book. The first time I ever heard about it or read it, I was like, wow, my whole concept about relationships just changed. And not just, not just intimate relationships, but also, with your mom, your parents, your brother, your sister, your business partner, your, everything just changes.
Yes.
So please go enlighten us.
It's for all relationships. And that's what I love about this so much, is that then if it's for all relationships, guess what? It can be with yourself too. And that's really what I really love, because it changes everything once you realize I'm expecting people to do this to me, but if I know that this is what I want, I can do it for myself. Wow. Light bulb. Like super obvious. But so, I don't know exactly what order he has it in the book, but I'll just go through all 5. So one of them is acts of service. And those are the people that really value when things are done, and when things are done a certain way. So I know this from experience. My sister is, her primary love language is acts of service, and so is my husband. So they're not, too interested in you telling them that they did a good job or surprising them. Usually these people don't really care for surprises. They just want to know that a certain task was done and that it was done right. So whatever it is that or surprise them with, I've already taken care of this for you and you don't have to do it. Oh, they feel loved and appreciated more than anything. And it's so interesting, because for those of us whose language that is not, the acts of service, it seems so silly. And that's why the disconnect usually happens in relationships. It's because if that's not what you value, you don't think about doing it, because it's not top of mind, right? But for those people, that's the first thing that they see. Was this accomplished? Was this done? So that's the first one. The next one is words of affirmation. So people that really want that validation, that confirmation that they're doing a good job, just that they are appreciated and they are recognized. And that is my preferred love language for sure. And so you can see in a relationship where somebody values words and the other one values actions, it could be a recipe for disaster there, because one is expecting those words and the words don't come, and the other one's expecting the tasks to be done. So you don't recognize me, I don't do the task, right? And so it's kind of like this impossible situation until both come to the realization of, she will get the tasks done if I compliment her, and vice versa. If I want the compliment, I have to get the task done. So you kind of learn a little bit more the dynamics, depending on what language it is, but that's the second one, words of affirmation. Then you have gifts. So some people that really prize that physical form of appreciation. So it's kind of similar to the words of affirmation in a sense. I mean, they're all super interconnected because it's showing love regardless. But you will notice that for some people, and that's a great way of, even if you take the quiz, which you can take online, that's a way for you to kind of do a process of elimination. Because as I'm describing these, people are probably listening and thinking, I could care less about getting a gift, just get the job done, right? Or I could care less about getting a gift. I would rather you tell me that I'm amazing, right? So everybody's different. And I think a lot of it has to do with personality types, the way you were raised, even birth order, everything come into play. And I think all assessments are valid and complement each other. So after gifts, we have physical touch. So some people really, really look forward to the hug, holding hands and all that kind of stuff. And again, that could be frustrating if your partner is not that, and you're craving that touch, and that person's not used to that, maybe because in their childhood, they're not used to that. And that's not something that, happened a whole lot in households. Every family is different. So that's why their communication is super important, to say, I want this, instead of expecting magically for your partner to know that this is something you prize. And the reason that happens even is because we are not even aware that this is what you want, right? They're giving me gifts. They're doing all the things. It's still not enough. And then it's because you're craving that hug, that just, the pat on the back, whatever you have you. So that's 4. And then the 5th one is quality time. So really the presence, lack of distractions, especially at this day and age with people on their phones all the time. You're talking to them and they're looking at their phones saying, no, I'm listening, but they're really not listening. Or even if they are, that person that values the quality time does not feel appreciated. And I will also say that the reason why I love the book for kids is because he explains on there that kids up until 5 or 7 years old, they appreciate all love languages. So that's not to say that we don't like the other stuff. It's just that it doesn't matter as much to us. But to kids, as they're growing, they want it all. And that's why it can be so overwhelming, especially for moms, right? Because they want your attention. Please don't look at your phone. Please don't talk to anyone else. They want the physical touch. They want to be held. They want to be hugged, right? They want presents. They want gifts. And they want to be told that they're doing a good job, and they want you to go do things for them, right? I can't do this. Come help me, right? And of course, there are the times when they want to do it themselves just to prove that they're grown. But I think it's fascinating to see that as human beings, to make us whole, we like all of these, ways of being shown love. But as we grow, and again, I believe it has to do with our upbringing and different factors, we tend to prioritize one of them. And that's something, especially for us as parents, to pick up the clues and to realize oftentimes if your kid's not doing well in school or if something's coming up, it's usually because that one preferred language is lacking. So paying attention to that, and in relationships as well. And then we can get into ourselves in a minute.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you just going through those 5 languages, some people will be like, yep, I'm definitely leaning to 1 or 2. And like you said, it doesn't mean just because you've got that one, you don't like any of the other ones. It's just preferred. It's just your preferred one. And I remember when I did the test, mine came up as 2 preferred ones, the same, which was quite interesting. And that was acts of service and language. So both of them came up the same together, which was quite interesting. And I guess as you grow and as you develop, you do these tests, it may change.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So you said you can do this test online, is that right?
Yes. So if you just look for love languages, and you will find, I think 5 love languages or something like that.com. Yeah. And then right on the homepage, you can take the quiz. And there's different quizzes for like relationships. There's for singles. And so for couples, singles, and I think for kids as well. Yeah. But as with any assessment, because I work with several different assessments as well, I would say, don't take the quiz a million times, because just like you said, especially depending on your frame of mind or whatever is going on, the season of life, the result may be different. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've changed, that you're this different person. It's the more you understand all of the types, because why would you just want to learn your own? When we take these tests and we learn these tools, the whole point should be that we want to understand others as well. Because the more you understand yourself, the easier it is for you to understand others, because they're either more like you or nothing like you. So you're just the starting point. So I highly encourage people to understand all of the types so that you understand what is more dominant for you, and also to help you with your relationships in case, your spouse is a completely different type that you are not. You need to learn that type ASAP.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Now that we know the 5 love languages, and that we understand that you can work in any relationship with your kids, with your business partner, with your partner, and so forth. But how does using the love language on yourself help us achieve success, but also health? We can talk about
Yes.
those two topics. So how does it actually, so now that we understand, let's say, for example, love language is acts of service, right? How does that help one with their success and their health?
Yeah. So I think, like I said, with any type of assessment, the more you understand yourself, the easier it is for you to accept who you are. Because we're always looking outside of ourselves, looking for that approval. Is it okay that I am the way I am? Because if it's not, no worries. I'll just change real quick so that you can accept me and I can belong. This is how we live every single day, every interaction that we have. We're always gauging. And even if you think about a child, as they're about to do something wrong, they look, right? They watch and see, is anyone looking at me? Or if they're doing something special, they look back at, the adults and they're like, are you going to say that I'm doing amazing or not? There have been instances where my kids even say, Mommy, look at me and say, wow. So people, we expect some sort of reaction with everything that we do. And usually we expect it to be a good reaction. But in case it's not, we're already prepared to shift and to do something else so that it is approved of and it is accepted. And oftentimes, even the opposite, we try to do, to rebel and do the complete opposite, again, because we want that attention, even if it's negative attention as well. So that happens too. So I would say the reason why understanding your love language better helps you in so many different ways is because you see that there is a pattern. Other people behave that way too. You're not alone. And this is the most important thing that we can achieve with personal development, I believe, is understanding that you're not this alien that behaves and thinks and acts a certain way. And there's nobody else out there like you. Because this feeling is what makes us feel inadequate, is what makes us feel like we have to be different because the way that we are is wrong. And when you take a test or an assessment and you see yourself, you feel seen as well. You're like, wow, somebody developed this whole framework. This has been going on for years. Human beings have been around for ages, and this is actually a thing. It's okay that I prioritize tasks getting accomplished instead of being told that I'm doing a good job. So that helps right there to validate that the way that you are and the way you behave is not awful. And I think that's super important because most often we hear throughout our lives somebody telling us, you're too loud or you're too quiet, right? You are too sensitive, or you're not sensitive at all and you're tactless. We get labeled with these things and we carry them throughout, teenagehood and adulthood. And we start thinking, this is who I am and it's bad. So let me tone it down. When you take an assessment such as the love languages and you understand that what you do isn't wrong, it's just the way you are, my gosh, it lifts a weight off. And it helps you bond with the other people that think the same way too, and that behave the same way too. And at the same time, it allows you to be more empathetic with the other types. Because you're like, oh my gosh, I grew up with somebody that really valued XYZ. Most likely that was their love language. I never knew. And had I known, our relationship could have gone smoother. Or if you think, about your parents or whoever it is. So I think that's how it really sets us up for success. Because even in the beginning, when I said, what does success mean for me personally? It's really allowing myself to be who I am more and more without having to quickly change just because I'm fearing rejection. So I think that's what allows you to be more authentic and more uniquely you. And when you talk health, I mean, our emotions, they're a huge part of our physical health, right? And they affect the way that our body operates, our feelings affect how we think and how we act and so much more than we realize. And the more in tune you are with yourself, the easier it is for you to notice certain patterns and certain things and then make changes if it's not something that is serving you.
Yeah, wow. I mean, understanding yourself, understanding that, you're not alone. You're not this weird alien that just landed and everyone else is human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That in itself, it's just kind of like you sit back and you go, oh wow, I'm part of the crew. Like
Yeah.
I'm like you, you're like me. And then you feel like you belong, because that's one of the key things that we look for, isn't it? It's one of the key things that makes us, human, being part of a community. But then also understanding that we're all different and that it's not bad to be different. It's actually, and a lot of people talking from the marketing side that you've spoken about, being authentic is a huge thing, because then other people are able to connect to you, to your product, to your service, to your business, because they're like, oh, you're like me. Look at you. I want to be like you. Like, so, and love language can help with all that. Like, I mean, who would have thought?
Yes, exactly. And we hear so much as entrepreneurs that we need to be authentic, and we're thinking, wow, so I need to wrap my head with some bright color paper and show up so that I'm going to be different. Like, I don't know. We hear that so much, and it's like, so how do I do this dang thing of being authentic? And it's,
what is this?
What is this? And it's literally just being who you are, because even if you are a certain love language and a certain personality type and whatever have you in any assessment, that combination with your upbringing, with, where you were born, whatever, is so unique. That is what is unique. You feeling like an outcast because of whatever is not necessarily unique, because chances are there's a group of people that have that. Just like what we're saying, there's a group of people that is this love language. There's a certain group of people that, have a certain skin color, that are born in a certain country. So there are all of these paths that cross, but your unique recipe, your DNA is unique, and you finding how all of those pieces come together in a unique way. This is how you present yourself as unique, but you have to take the time to discover what that is and to show it freely without being afraid of nobody accepting you. So that's the tricky part.
That is the tricky part. Nobody accepting you, because we're looking for external validation. And I guess that happens a lot in business. I mean, in business, we're scared of, rejection. We're scared of not getting sales. We're scared of coming out and actually being who we are, because our audience, our clients are not going to like that. They're going to reject us. So therefore our sales are going to go down. So it's an ongoing circle there. So why is it that we actually look for external validations, and how can we change that to help our business?
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying in the beginning, us looking for external validation is normal. That's just really the norm. All of us do it. So whoever's worried about that, you're okay, because we're all doing it. And I think we're never going to stop doing it. I think there's different levels of it. You start caring less. And I think with age and with more experiences, and especially the people you surround yourself with, you start seeing that those things don't matter anymore as much as it did before. And I mean, we grow up, just like I said, we're always looking outside of ourselves, because this is how we know if we're doing okay by the world, is check people's reactions, right? Is somebody going to scream? Are they going to smile? Are they going to laugh? So this is how we live our lives for such a long time. And then you start your business and your coach tells you, just be yourself. And you're like, okay, what does that even mean? I've been trying to be anybody else but myself my entire life. All of us have, right? And some of us may have maybe a little bit higher on that self-awareness scale to begin with. But I think for the most part, there's lots of work to be done in the sense of accepting who you are and all of that. So for one, that's super normal. And I think the way out of that hole really of seeking the external validation is self-awareness. And it's tough though, because the first step when you're looking into this is hating who you are. That's why we don't do this work, because you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start facing myself. It's not going to be pretty right away, because you've run from it your entire life. When you go and really check it out, you're like, wow, I don't like this because I do this, I do that. And then you start comparing yourself to everybody else around you and the other entrepreneurs. And social media has made it so easy for us to compare ourselves more than before, because you have access to so many people all of the time, right? And their feeds and their lives and the perfect lives that, many portray it to be. And so I think the first step is not getting discouraged once you start it and once you're not so happy with what you see, because then that's when you need to remind yourself, this is not just me. There are other people that behave this way, that struggle this way. And one of the things that has been the most helpful for me in the recent months in working with my current business coach, who is somebody who's super accomplished, has years, several different entrepreneurial endeavors and years of experience, is saying this feeling doesn't go away. This little bit of a fear, this little bit of anxiety and this nervousness, it still shows up because we are imperfect, right? We have our insecurities. We don't know what other people are thinking. We will never really know. So those things manifest themselves still, but it's in how you react, your response time, right? How much you dwell in it, how much you let it influence you and affect you. Those are all, different signs of how mature you are. And it goes back to not only age, but your experience in the field, in the business, or whatever have you is. With time, you don't care as much because you've seen more than you did in the beginning. And giving yourself that grace too, of looking back, is like, why didn't I do that to begin with? We're so good at saying that to ourselves. Why didn't I, start this 5 years ago? And the answer is because you couldn't have, period. Otherwise you would have. That's just as simple as that. So yeah, we all struggle with it. And I think we always will. And it's just manifests itself in different ways. And just knowing that is a great starting point and road to success.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I can just imagine a few people, including myself, that's listened to you just say that, went, okay, took that deep breath and just went, okay, cool. I can move forward now. That little thing that was hanging on my shoulder, I can just let that go, because it's kind of going to be there and it's normal and it's okay. It's not just me. So I think hearing that and knowing that, and like you said, from someone who's had so much experience in business and has had so many failures and success, and all these people that we listen to that are so-called successful, they always say, oh, it took me so many times to fail to get where I am. But the thing is, we only see that success in our eyes, where they've accomplished what they have, but we forget that it actually took them time, effort, energy to get there. So it's interesting that you say that. And also comparing ourselves. Yes, of course, comparing ourselves. It's normal as us humans. You can even see, like in children, they just look at other children. Oh, why did they have that toy? Or why did they have that? Why did they wear that shoes? We're always comparing, because we're animals, we want to strive, we want to achieve, we want to see, we want the best, we want to compete. That's survival, isn't it?
Yes. And it's usually, because it's kind of like the parameter of, what do I want my life to look like? So you look at these other people's lives and you create your goals. You envision things for yourself. I would like to have a house like this. I would have to have a family like this. I would like to travel. And that is great, because you need to visualize something in order to move forward. But the trap is, if it's not exactly like that person, then you get down on yourself and you're like, wow, this is not what I want. And I'm not getting there. I'm awful. They have it all and I don't. My life sucks. And the grass is always greener on the other side. The business is always, better when it's somebody else's business. And I always encourage people to remember that you don't know their reality. You do not know their reality, right? Whatever it is that they portray. And sometimes people are not even trying to portray a perfect life, but we create stories in our heads. And instead of spending so much time creating stories about somebody else's life and why their life is better than yours, why aren't you just envisioning what you want for yourself? And that's where I believe being more self-aware is so helpful, to envision your future life and to create goals. Because if you really were aware of who you are, you would know a little bit better what you want, instead of just copying somebody else's goal that is completely different from you. Different upbringing, right? Different personality type, different husband, different kids, different, talents, gifts. Like, there really is no comparison. It's apples to oranges. And this is something that I've been learning as I go. Like I said, it really is a growth journey into, sometimes even with my mentors, thinking, my gosh, I've been doing this for a while. She has too, but she's so much farther ahead. People connect with her. People want her all of the time. And then I started realizing, but she's not doing what I want to do. Right? So you may think somebody's making a lot of money. Lots of people gravitate towards that person, but they have a different business, they have a different model. So like for me, for example, I'm very outspoken. I like doing what we're doing right now and having these interviews and being in front of people and being in front of crowds and just talking. And there are coaches that are completely fine with not even being known. They don't care if, how many followers they have. Not saying that that is important at all, because that's something I've learned with time too. It does not matter, but they're not public figures and they don't aspire to be. They have no desire to be. Why would I be wanting that person's business and life if it's not who I am? It makes no sense. So I'm literally creating these negative emotions about my life for nothing. It's pointless. And I started noticing these things about me, that I was craving somebody else's life and somebody else's business and saying, but would I really be happy? No, I want to be in front of people. I want to, I have different ideas of what I want. And the more self-aware you are, the easier it is to separate yourself and to not compare as much. You're still going to do it because it's tempting, but it's going to look different for sure.
Yeah, it's so mind-blowing when you break it down to that level. I mean, you can, like you said, look at that person and go, wow, I want to be like that. But when you break it down, you're like, that doesn't fit my values, doesn't fit my personality, doesn't fit my lifestyle. The end result may be similar,
right?
But doesn't line up, and then I'm still not going to be happy. And then why am I not happy when I've achieved this? So it's so interesting. Yeah. And also what I see a lot in business, and especially in women, is this thing called, I don't know if you've heard about it, perfection. We all try and achieve this thing called perfection, providing the perfect service, providing the perfect product. But what damage does perfection actually cause to our business and to ourselves?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
So what damage does perfection actually cause to ourselves and to our business? Because we all try to achieve perfection in a way, or we don't do things because we want them to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, that is the biggest pitfall for sure, because usually our idea of perfection is somebody, right? So you're looking at that person's life, just like what I was saying, and you're thinking that everything in their life goes smoothly. Right? They eat healthy, they exercise, they have the money, they have the husband that helps, or whatever you envision as an amazing life for you. You pick somebody that looks like they have what you're thinking is great. And then you think, well, there's no hope for me because they already have it. And instead, what we should be thinking is, if somebody has something that I want, which back to what I was saying, it really could look different if you become more self-aware. You're going to start seeing that nobody really has exactly what you want because nobody is you. You start seeing that there is no point in you idolizing something because this thing does not exist. Everybody's struggling with something, even the ones that have made it big, that are doing all of the things. New level, new devil is an expression that I really like. One of my mentors uses that, because even if somebody has made it big, they're still struggling with something, whether it be in their family, whether it be in their business, or whether it be with their kids, with their health. We literally don't know. And so it's really detrimental because it's creating an impossible situation. And it's really what many of us use as an excuse. If it's not going to be like that, then I don't want it, right? Because then it's like, I don't even need to work so hard because I'm never going to achieve it. So it's a great way for you to talk yourself out of accomplishing things, because in your head, it's never going to happen. So it's really self-sabotage.
Yeah, 100%. So you've spoken about, knowing yourself, using the love language on yourself. So, and figuring out what your love language is, and then being able to, work with others to, especially in business and in relationships or anything along those lines, to work with yourself, but also using that love language on yourself. Yes. And if you know what your love language is, you're going to be more self-aware, you're going to communicate better and so forth. So what would you say would be some practical tips for the audience to incorporate to, move from external validation to self-nurturing and using that love language on themselves?
Yeah. So I would say if they're able to take the quiz and kind of pinpoint what is more dominant for them to begin with, that would be great. And then start thinking about moments where you really felt loved and happy. What did that person, whoever was involved in the situation, do for you, right? And what were those feelings? And really take note of that. And it's so interesting because our brains are amazing and we can put ourselves in that situation, even if it's not what's happening right now. And we can feel it as if it's real and if it's happening right at that moment, which is an amazing practice to do, which is gratitude practice, right? Remembering good things instead of putting ourselves in a negative space. So you can do that with your love language is thinking back in a moment, if it's words of affirmation, when was a moment when somebody said something, what was that? And you're instantly going to be encouraged, even if that person is not saying that to you right at that time, because you will remember the feeling. And again, your brain doesn't know if it was then or if it's now, it's the same. And so as you remember what that was, you can practice recreating that experience for yourself instead of expecting somebody to do it for you. So not only reminding yourself of those moments, if it came from someone else, but recreating that experience yourself. So acts of service. So I can give some examples on each specific language. So for acts of services, doing things for themselves, because they're usually wanting somebody else to do something for them. So I think self-care could be really important in this way, or something that is not huge, because they usually expect, huge demonstrations of you went through all this trouble and you did all this thing for me. Why not do that for yourself and be happy and content that you did it yourself and you didn't need anyone's help to feel loved. You could literally do it for yourself. So think about what that means. And for everyone, it's different, but I think self-care, especially for women, because you expect, maybe you expect your partner to make dinner for you or clean and cook. But what would something like that look like if you did it for you? Maybe it's not you cleaning the house or something like that, but think about what it would mean for you if you did something for you. And then words of affirmation, the same. If you know you need that recognition, well, practice affirmations for yourself. Tell yourself that you're amazing or whatever it is. And I think for me, because I'm words of affirmation, I can give a little word of advice, is practicing really taking compliments, because that is hard for words of affirmation. You would think, because that's what you want, that it would be easy for you to receive, but it really is not. Because that's what you want, you always want more of it. And that goes for acts of service as well. So that's a little parenthesis here for all of the love languages. You'll notice that you want to receive that, but you want it to be a certain way, or you expect it to be a certain way. So even when somebody's trying, because they know that that's your love language, you may be resistant to it. So pay attention to that and really receive it and appreciate it when it happens. So that's a tip for words of affirmation too, is paying attention to, are you really accepting the compliment? Are you really accepting those words? Because and one of the things that Gary says in the book is your love tank being on empty. And so if you're noticing your love tank being on empty, maybe you're just not accepting the compliments as they come, the words of affirmation as they come. So pay close attention to that. And for the next one, for the gifts, gift yourself. And it doesn't have to be something huge. Maybe if you're always doing everything for everyone, when you go to the grocery store, buy a new lip gloss or something small just to make yourself happy. You could do that too. Or pay attention again. When was it something that I received? And you will notice that usually it's not something huge. We tend to create these images, but much like kids, sometimes the smallest things will make them happy. And we try to make something extravagant and they just pick the $1 Hot Wheel, in the supermarket, and their day is made. So pay close attention to that as well. Physical touch, definitely paying closer attention to yourself and being more mindful to your body, maybe getting a massage, or just paying closer attention to yourself, in the shower or applying lotion. We usually are so rushed and we don't even pay attention to what we're doing because it's so autopilot. So nurture yourself in that way as well. And quality time, enjoying your own company, spending time with yourself. Because for quality time, people that value quality time, they would tend to want to be around people that are giving them all of their attention. So they most likely are not really used or satisfied with spending time on their own. So that's something to practice too, because again, it's that self-love and that independence, right? You don't need to be codependent, and you don't need somebody to be there to make you feel safe, because you can really develop that on your own.
Yeah, wow. And I mean, you just chucked in a huge one there, codependency. But that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother episode. I love that. I love that you turned, using the love languages that you can use on others and people can use on you. I love that you turned it around to using it on yourself. I think that is absolutely brilliant. And giving examples. I'd love that people be able to sit down now, go online, do that quiz, figure out what it is, and then listen to this episode and go, okay, oh my gosh, this makes such a big difference. This is going to make me not only a better partner, it's going to make me a better brother, sister, mother, father, business partner. It's going to make me such a better individual, a better human being on earth for me to serve in a way. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing that. But before we end, I wanted to find out, to finish off, as this is a natural health podcast, I ask all my guests, what is your best kept natural health hack that you may do daily, weekly, monthly? So Marta, what is this health hack that you want to share with us?
Oh my gosh, I guess I would have to go with sleep. That is something that I prize more than anything, and especially with being a triplet mom. Whenever people are like, how do you survive? How do you do any of the things? I always tell them, at 7 months old, I invested in a sleep consultant, and that was the best money invested in my entire life, because it taught me more than just how to help my kids sleep. It taught me how important sleep is for their development and for me as a caretaker and a caregiver, and also taught me discipline. It taught me how to be firm with my kids, and that I am the one in charge, and that I am the one teaching these things. And it's really changed and set us up for success, essentially, because even through the pandemic, with them not going to school, them napping in the afternoon, even at 5 years old, and sleeping through the night. I mean, what better gift can you give a mom, right? Because you're unhappy and cranky, just like a toddler is, if you don't sleep. So I won't say that I get more than 8 hours, sometimes 7 hours, depending on what's going on. But that is something that I know, if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not being intentional about my sleep, everything gets derailed. So not too fancy of a hack, but it's a legit one.
Oh, it's one that keeps you going. I'm telling you, sleep is so important for all of us, kids, adolescents, adults, the elderly. I mean, we all need sleep. We all need to press that restart button on that little head of ours.
It's hard, but it's needed. That's why it's needed.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely love that. So I also know that you run a program. Are you able to share a little bit more about us, if individuals who are listening to you are like, oh my gosh, I love everything you said. I want to get to know you. I want to, I want you to mentor me and so forth. How are they able to get in touch, and what are they able to do?
Yes. So I have my membership for women entrepreneurs. It's called the Empowered Women School, and it's a monthly membership. We meet on Zoom 3 times a month. I bring in guest experts. We do several different personal growth and business growth exercises. I'm always encouraging members to share their expertise and to really collaborate with each other. So it's really a community for us to network and to grow and collaborate together, but also for us to implement, because I think there's lots of information out there, and what is always usually lacking is the accountability. People know a lot, but they're not doing a whole lot. They're not implementing. So it's hard to get results when you're not really doing it. So we're really focused on helping you strengthen your mindset through personal growth, but then take action. And everything is interconnected, like I said in the beginning. So if you're interested in checking it out, you can find more information on my website. And I also have a masterclass where I talk a little bit more about content creation and how to position yourself as an expert. And everything comes from that foundation of self-awareness and the personal growth. But it's a little teaser of what I teach inside the school.
Absolutely brilliant. And I'll put all the notes in the show notes down there so you're able to access that, and add Marta on Facebook and social media so you can connect and find out what she's doing. She's doing absolutely brilliant work. Thank you so much for taking your time out. I know time is valuable when you've got triplets, especially 5-year-old ones. So I appreciate your time so much. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, your energy has been absolutely amazing. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the Natural Health Podcast, Marta.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Thank you for joining us at the Natural Health Podcast. And remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health.